All right. 2024 is over. I've been looking forward to this episode. We're going to be going over the entire year. Overall, pretty meh. But if you're watching on the YouTube side, this will be on screen. It is our final tier list. And it's a mix of shows and movies. And before we get into reviewing the whole year and going through this tier list and reminiscing, we saw Nosferatu, like, what was it, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yes. About.
So I thought it was really good. Out of the Robert Eggers movies, I think it's my second favorite of the four. It's proper, I don't know what else to say besides it's proper Victorian horror. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I think
Yeah.
I think it really captured the essence well of the kind of the Victorian age and everything like that. And also I like the fact, I think a lot of people mentioned it. I think you mentioned it mostly, Keaton, when we first saw the movie, is that like they finally brought back the fact that a vampire is like an evil, just a pure evil being, not like, a romance trope or
Yeah, it's
something
not
like that.
Edward
I
Cullen
remember
anymore.
that's actually the story of Nosferatu, not just
Yes.
Yes,
Dracula. Because Dracula is your lord of vampires, tries to take over the world, creating vampire spawn, stuff like that. Whereas Nosferatu is more of death himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's actually a monster.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the mustache?
I mean, I think it was fine. Like, the thing is like he looks.
He kind of looks
So-
like a Russian.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
kinda
gonna say
has
I think they did that because Vlad the Impaler had a mustache, at least in the paintings that they have of him.
I don't know that I can do the voice though, because it's just been turned into a meme at this point.
I'm
But
mad about that. Because the voice is good, but people are like, they're starting to give it the Bane treatment, where it was actually badass at the time, and then after the fact, people are like, no, it's stupid, it's a meme.
I don't think
I don't
people are thinking it's stupid. I think people just think it's funny to.
because the voice fit him, it definitely fit the way that it was, because he's like a probably 1,000-year-old creature that's so old that at this point he's got very minimal strength, so it takes a lot to do anything he wants to.
I saw a TikTok literally earlier today that someone said it sounded like the Cookie Monster, and it damn near ruined the movie for me.
What
Oh,
does that
um,
take? The Cookie Monster?
Yeah, and I was like, oh gosh.
Yeah, I could see how that would ruin it. All the takes I've seen have just been like TikToks of people making like sexual comments using the voice.
Yeah.
Like yes, like spit on that thing, but in like the way that he was talking in the movie.
I keep getting the one where it's like bounce on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Crazy style. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
One. Yeah.
And what's funny is it's Bill Skarsgård too.
Yeah.
Who he's like talk about a polar year. In the same year he had Nosferatu and The Crow and Boy Kills World.
Yeah.
Like, what are
Yeah.
you doing?
Well, I think it's just
He might have ended up with the Tom Holland treatment where
Oh,
he just
yeah, his
got put
agent.
into a bunch of
Yeah.
movies from his agent.
yeah, it's kind of the Tom
And regardless,
Holland,
he was still
Chalamet.
good in all of them.
Yeah.
I haven't seen The Crow, so I don't know about that one.
Yeah. The other ones didn't ask much of him. And when he was asked to do the thing, like in Nosferatu, like actually pull off something really good, then he obviously can.
Yeah.
I remember him in John Wick 4 last year. It was pretty good. I quite liked it.
I honestly love the Skarsgård. Like
All
of them
killer.
are so good. Yep.
Yeah, Stellan, Alexander. There's another brother who's in the Vikings show.
Yeah, he's not as big though.
He's not as big. He's still really good though. He's actually really, really good.
Yeah, I can't remember his name either. But.
Yeah, and Bill. It's like there's just this whole family of Skarsgårds that are all killer.
Yep.
But the other thing, this movie was really like beautifully shot. Do you guys remember when Nicholas Hoult gets in the driverless carriage and it like pans up to show the castle in the valley?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It's like that's just a straight up painting. That thing was awesome.
Yeah, I also really love the shot when you see Nosferatu's like the shadow of his hand going across the city.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, the cinematography like and like the visuals in this movie were really good. Even like the fact that you don't see Nosferatu or like Count Orlok like directly for so like much of the movie. Like he's always hidden in the shadows or like
Where you just see his face and that's about it.
well, not even like all of his face. You just see like parts of it, like his
Yeah.
like
Like
nose,
it's
like the bridge of his nose and his eyes and everything like that. He did really good at like capturing capturing a lot of that cool essence.
that's one of the things I really liked about the trailer too.
Yeah.
Is I'm so sick of trailers that are just the entire movie.
Mhm.
But every now and again we get a trailer like how they're supposed to be, where you don't know what's going to happen, you don't know what it's going to look like. Nicholas Hoult was probably the best acting performance in the whole thing. Johnny Depp's daughter's in it; she's really good.
Mhm.
Willem Dafoe. Willem Dafoe has now been in 3 out of his only 4 movies, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah, it's like Samuel Jackson with
But some people also just have that acting type.
Yes, yeah, they fit a style really well.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
like Tarantino with Samuel Jackson. Like I think it's also like sometimes they
Right.
just like working with people. I know Willem Dafoe said that he really likes working with him.
Yeah,
And
and I
it's
hope he does
probably
more.
yeah. I mean, I'd be super down for it.
Yeah. There's this guy on YouTube that I really like. His name's Razor Fist,
Mhm.
and he posted a thing on Twitter about how Robert Eggers should be the guy if they ever do a remake of Phantom of the Opera. I was like
Ooh,
thinking about it. I was like, "Ooh, wow, that could actually be
yeah.
insane."
Especially after Nosferatu, like, yeah,
Yep,
that would
like
be
capturing that
mhm.
era
He
and
could totally do it.
yep, I was thinking the same thing. But it's also like that's a music or not even a music, it's a musical, it's a full-on opera.
Yeah.
Uh, so that would be really interesting, but he might be one of the top dogs, like Nolan, Denis Villeneuve, him.
Yeah.
Like he's up there, man. He's killing it. All
Especially
4 of
when
his
you
movies rule.
especially when you consider all the recent directors we've gotten, like, compared to, like, some of, like, the old, like, past directors, like, obviously, you get Tarantino and,
Like Scorsese.
Scorsese. Yeah, and, like, those are considered kinda like the big directors, right? And so it's nice to see someone that's kind of a little more well, I don't know how young or how old,
He's
like,
not
they
old. He's
yeah,
like a
yeah,
young, spry guy. I don't know his exact age, but even if he
yeah,
is older, he doesn't look like it.
yeah, so it's like
Huh.
it's kinda nice to see, like, a new younger director come in, because then it's like, "Alright, let's say, Tarantino and Scorsese and Nolan are like, "Alright, we're not making movies anymore." It's like, at least we got some new up and comers that to keep an eye on, everything like that.
Yeah, and I hope he does. I hope he makes more movies like The Northman. The Northman is my favorite Eggers movie. If he just kept making movies just like that and like Nosferatu, perfect. Just I hope he just keeps doing his thing for as long as he wants because it's awesome.
Yep.
It's also a movie that didn't get turned into a woke factor.
Yeah, none of his movies are like that, by the way, which I super appreciate. There's no messaging at all. They're just like movies are supposed to be. They're just a story, and it's just art. It's an art, and it's a movie.
Yeah.
It's story. So yeah, as far as the tier list, we pretty much agreed that it is in the top tier, which is the fantastic tier. Uh, so yeah. Next up, I thought it would be a little more fun because a lot of people you see him do my top 10 or my bottom 10 2024. I thought instead of just doing a straight top 10, it'd be fun to kind of break it up into categories. So we all, and we don't know what each other have, 8 with maybe some extra like honorable mentions. 8 movies, and the categories are 2 best, like your 2 favorite, the 2 worst, 2 movies that surprised you, and 2 movies that just full on disappointed you. So we'll go through each of those. Who wants to go first?
Well, why don't we just do this? Like, Keaton, why don't you share one of yours? Like, we'll do like a line. So, like, you share one of yours, I'll share one of mine. Soupy shares his 2, and then we'll like go back through or whatever.
All right. Let's start with worst.
Okay.
Soupy, what were your 2 worst movies of the year?
The one sits as the worst, and it might sit on all of our lists, and it has to be Argyle. It has to be. Like, I'm sorry. It's probably one of the biggest abominations I've ever watched in my entire life.
If I had to like sit and think like as far as my entire life, the worst things I've seen, it is really high up there.
Part of the other reason is just because of the way a lot of the actors were in it. I don't think anybody enjoyed making that movie.
Which is wild, because it's the guy that made the Kingsman movies. That's what's
Kingsmen
crazy.
are a little weird, though, when you actually, like... The style for him is a little weird. I didn't mind the first Kingsman.
Right.
I also didn't watch the one... I think it came out last year.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one either, but I know what one you're talking about.
Yeah, I haven't watched that one, so I don't know how that is.
And it was the biggest marketing bait and switch of all time. Like, Henry Cavill is, like, in the majority of the trailer, and he's in the movie for maybe 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds.
I think total time was probably 20.
20 seconds?
Of screen time.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
And you're talking about some of the worst CGI since Flash. Probably the worst plot twist in film history regarding the protagonist, where the author is actually a secret agent who can kill everybody. She just forgot because of amnesia, so she's got to remember. And yeah, it's some of the worst writing. Bryan Cranston's in it. Sam Rockwell's in it. Sam Rockwell was like doing the best he could.
He was a good cast.
Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson is in it. Like,
yeah,
what are? Gosh. Yeah.
Well, and it had like 3 different plot twists, right? Like, there's like the plot twist where she forgot, like she was the agent, and they forgot everything, and then there was the plot twist that
her dad was the villain.
Was the villain.
That's right. And her mom knew about it.
Yeah, but then that's not
mom, by the way, is Kevin's mom in Home Alone.
Yep. Yeah, and then it turns out that that's a complete lie. But she was a double agent for the other, like, I can't even remember all the plot twists of this movie, honestly, because I lost track of what was going on.
I would rather watch the Rick and Morty spy episode like 50 times before Argyle.
I was starting to taste my own brain cells when she was ice skating on oil. So,
yep, and the way she used ice skates is putting 2 throwing knives on the ground and stomping her boots on them.
Yep, I forgot about that.
It's so bad.
Yeah, you know, if you've listened, so there's probably like one of you who have listened to every episode of the show so far. You'd probably think that Argyle is our favorite movie because we talk about it all the time. But
well, yeah, because we always forget about it.
The thing is it doesn't even fit into a category of so bad that it's good. It's just bad.
Which there is another movie that we have pretty low on the tier list that is so bad that it's kind of good. But yeah, it does not even fit that. It is just straight abysmal. So.
Yep.
All right. What was your second worst of the year?
Second one does kind of fit into the category of too bad that it's actually kind of funny, and it's Megalopolis.
Nice. Yeah.
Because There were parts that were just hilarious because I think it was supposed to be serious scenes, and you just can't take them serious at all.
Yeah.
And for how long the movie goes on just for nothing to be accomplished.
Yeah, this one was actually kind of I was trying to decide where to put this between worst and disappointing because this is the guy that made The Godfather and Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
When I
Yes,
heard
but
that
you
this was
still look at
announced,
the age.
yeah, back in January of 2024 when they were talking about it, it's going to be the Thanksgiving Day release. Adam Driver, Giancarlo Esposito, my guy Shia, you know. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like what?" And then once you got there, it was just next
Mess.
level bad. The dialogue was terrible. The story, I was having a hard time trying to figure out what it even meant. Like the architect, he was also a superhero, but his powers weren't really explained that well. And maybe other people have that superpower as well. And the city is supposed to, I understood the point of like the city is supposed to be what if the Roman Empire never fell. So there's still a lot of like ancient Rome themes, but it's quote unquote modern. It just got really weird really fast. The main conflict between him and Giancarlo Esposito didn't make all that much sense. The ending was terrible. Do you remember the baby?
Oh yeah, the baby.
The baby
Freezing
that all of a
time.
sudden has
Yeah,
time
they
freeze
froze
power.
time.
Yep.
And for some reason, he can freeze time. Yeah.
Adam Driver could freeze time, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was looking forward to that one, but yeah. No, totally perfect spot for that Soupy. That yeah.
It was just too bad.
All right.
I
Two
can't.
worst. Brian.
Well, I had not gonna lie, my two worst are completely matched with Soupy's. But I do have a third.
You have an
option.
honorable mention for worst?
I
Yes.
do have an honorable mention as well, but that's about it.
Well, I'll use my honorable mention since we've already talked about the.
Well, I have two honorable mentions, so if you have an honorable mention, go for it.
So my honorable mention was Madam Web.
Okay. That's fair.
This one, in my opinion, is at least in that it's so bad, it's at least kind of good. Because
It's fun. Like
it's funny.
we got together as lads and watched a movie this year that I had seen before, but it's called The Disaster Artist. And it's about the creation of the movie The Room. I think Madam Web might have that effect. Like there might be a comedy or a dramedy made about the creation of Madam Web.
Yeah.
It's not the first time they've done it either.
Yeah. Like I think it's so bad it's funny to the point where people already, this movie came out in February, are already like saying and memorizing lines from it because of how bad it is. Like my mom was pregnant, 9 months pregnant, studying spiders in the Amazon. Like all of that. People are already memeing it, so
yeah, they've been and they haven't stopped memeing it since it came out.
yeah. So maybe that will become like a "Oh, hi Lisa" type thing.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Oh, hi Mark.
Oh, hi Mark. Yeah, my bad. I butchered that. But yeah.
That's all good.
Yeah. Lisa's his girlfriend.
Yeah, you're tearing me apart, Lisa.
Yeah.
So, yeah, terrible dialogue, terrible voiceover too. Like
CGI was so bad.
CGI was terrible, but that's what makes it fun, and that's also what makes it atrocious.
It puts you as the male viewer in the most cursed position ever because you have a bunch of girls in their late 20s who are hot, but they're playing teenagers.
Yeah.
And so like you're like, can I legally be attracted to what's going on right now? I don't know. Like,
yeah. Which is probably why they didn't put Sydney Sweeney in the Spider-Man suit for longer than like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Another trailer bait and switch, by the way.
Yeah.
True.
It's like a flash. It's a dream scene. It's not even a flashback. It's a dream scene.
Yep.
But yeah, that movie was terrible, but it was more fun to watch than Megalopolis or Argyle. So
yeah, if somebody said, "Do you want to watch Madam Web together?" At like just to meme and laugh, I'd say sure.
Right.
if someone said, "Do you want to watch Megalopolis?" I'd be like, "No."
All right. Well, my 2 worst of the year. I'm actually chuckling. I had the same. I had Argyle and Megalopolis.
Dang it, dude.
So,
What are the honorable
There
mentions?
has to be something else.
yeah.
There
Well,
has to be.
let's see. I guess for just a random honorable mention, there was this Netflix movie, or I think it was Amazon Prime, but it's Josh Brolin and Peter Dinklage. It's called Brothers. And I was looking forward to it because of that group. That's freaking awesome. And it was really, really bad. It was supposed to be funny. It was not that funny. So I was sad about that. And I think that was, hey, that just shows you about Megalopolis and Argyle, though. Like, that's pretty crazy. We all had the exact, but yeah. And that's what's great. We had no idea.
Argyle on every single one.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting that too, just because like we meme about it all the time. But all right, do we want to go in the reverse direction? So I'll start the next.
Yeah, well, let's. What was your most surprising, Keaton?
Most surprising. So for this category, I figured, hey, it could be something you either didn't know what to expect, or you thought it was going to be bad. You ended up liking it, type thing. All right. Number 1. Longlegs. This came out in like July. I am not a horror guy at all, but Longlegs, similar thing to Nosferatu, to a lesser degree though. Longlegs is kind of your more standard formulaic than Nosferatu is. But it was like, if you're a Christian like I am, it's a little too real, but I can't also deny the fact that it's very well made, very well written. Nicolas Cage is unbelievable. Like, you don't even realize, you can't even tell that it's him at all at any point in the entire thing.
There might be like one scene, and I think it was the basement scene.
Yeah.
But that was the only time I could recognize him.
Right. But not in the main scene where he's interrogated.
Yeah, no, not even then.
No. And yeah, it's super, super disturbing. It's creepy. People are like, yeah, it's not actually scary. Well, even then, it's still like, it's still a very eerie,
it doesn't have
dark
the horror factor that you look at other like thriller or slasher type of.
Yeah, it might not be jumping you, but it's like, it's still creepy as frick and eerie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't expect it, or I didn't expect to think it'd be as good as I ended up thinking it was. It's hard to say that like I liked it, but I in the regard of like I respect it for what it was and how they did it. Yeah, so I put that at that, and you saw that as well, Super. Yeah.
Yes, I did see Longlegs.
I have yet to give it a rewatch. I probably should at some point. But yeah, Longlegs surprised me. And then number 2 is A Real Pain. This is Jesse Eisenberg's first time ever making a movie as far as the director spot. And it's essentially, you know how that Andy Samberg movie Palm Springs is kind of like a modernized, slightly different remake of Groundhog Day?
Yeah. It's
the same thing, but with planes, trains, and automobiles. The Steve Martin movie from the 80s, John Candy.
Yeah.
It's very similar, but like the exact same setup and premise. Except it's 2 cousins, so they did know each other beforehand. They're going on a trip to Poland because they are Jewish and their grandmother's from there. And after she died, they wanted to go visit where she grew up. And Kieran Culkin, if it were up to me, he'd probably get nominated for an Oscar. He was incredible. He was like the John Candy character, so kind of like very sarcastic, very over the top in like every scenario, very extroverted. But he's also kind of lost in life at the same time. And so Jesse Eisenberg, being like the more rational, practical life is together, he has to try to deal with him for the whole trip. Anyways, yeah, I was shocked. Usually, you're trying your hand at something You don't know how well it's going to go. Yeah, Jesse Eisenberg was awesome. He did a really good job, and it was a way better movie than I thought it was going to be, given what it was. So that was my second surprising movie. And if we're going in reverse order, then Brian.
Oh, it's me? Okay. All right. So my first one that I did was A Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan biopic, actually.
Heck yeah.
I saw the trailers for this and thought it was, going to be enjoyable and decent. But I actually really like this movie. I thought Timothy Chalamet actually gave a really good performance. Especially because I like him in Dune and everything like that, but I think he kind of gets because him and Tom Holland look so alike and are kind of almost very similar. I think they kind of think of them as the same, where it's just they look for a young, like, kind of younger looking kid to play this person, and it's either Timothy Chalamet or Tom Holland, because they know that if they want to make a ton of movies with them, they're young enough that they can do that. But I think it really actually showed his that he can act. He did really good with it. I also really liked seeing Ed Norton again. I think Ed Norton's character in this was actually him as Pete Siegel or whatever is like my favorite part of this movie. I miss seeing Ed Norton in movies, and he didn't even miss a beat. I think he did a really good performance here.
Yeah, I think I told you out of the theater, Ed Norton was my favorite part of this movie.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about Chalamet. It's fair. He was fantastic, obviously. But yeah, Ed Norton was really, really good, especially when it feels like you haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, that I liked is a lot of biopics, including some that we've seen this year. They're your standard birth to death.
Mm-hmm.
What I liked about Complete Unknown is it's just like a 5-year segment of his life where he was first kind of being discovered, and then 5 years after that, the 5 years following. I really like that because it's okay, there were some big events that happened. Let's give story and screen time to that.
Yeah.
I did do some looking into it after. The movie's not super accurate, like that festival that they do in the movie. He was actually not even there. He was in England or in the UK somewhere for all of that. But, it's a movie. They have to do what they have to do.
Yeah. They do that a lot with the biopics as well.
Yeah.
They kind of exaggerate things for the showmanship of it.
Yeah. Some people were mad about how they portrayed Johnny Cash. Whatever. But yeah, watch that. Big recommend. Pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Awesome.
And then my second one is I actually put Twisters on here.
Okay.
Because I think this year was a big year for remakes, rehashes, or sequels. Like unnecessary sequels. Like we had we had the new Planet of the Apes, we had the Crow remake, Gladiator 2. There was just a bunch of remakes or sequels to movies that, in my opinion, didn't need it. And Twister was one of those where I saw the trailer for it and was like, why are we getting basically like a Twister sequel almost? It's not a movie that needs to be remade. But I actually really enjoyed it. I think it was fun. I don't think it was anything like super crazy, but in my opinion, compared to the movies that have come out this year that are sequels or remakes, I think it actually did fine, like comparatively speaking to the rest of those. And it surprised me. So I was like, you know what? It's one I think we haven't really talked about it, and my hopes were pretty low going in. And so it was a pleasant surprise.
Well, yeah. It could have been a lot worse. That's what I was thinking of Twisters.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Also, I think I turned to one of you in the theater and was like, holy frick. I didn't realize frickin' Superman is in that movie, by the way.
Yeah.
What's his name? David Cornsweet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
he's one of the dudes that works for the energy company or whatever.
Yeah, he's like one of the other guys that is constantly
Yeah.
getting mad at.
It's funny if you watch Twisters, especially knowing what he was doing at the same time. He is so out of place in that. He's like a nerd with a clipboard working for this company. He's 6'4" and he's jacked.
Yeah, it looks
And he's
really
just
out of
standing next
place.
to the short Mexican, the co-lead of the movie, that like her childhood friend or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just standing next to each other, and David Cornswell's like behind him because he's like this small side character.
Yeah, it looks pretty funny.
Yeah.
What about you, CP? What are your what's in your
Two surprises.
And the two surprises. See, we did match on one, Keaton. It was long legs.
Nice. Okay, awesome.
Part of the reason why is because the amount of horror movies that I end up seeing, it was one that the trailer didn't give you a lot of information for it, but also did give like I guess in a way it is actually a good trailer because it didn't ruin the movie by just giving the whole plot. But you had no idea whether it was actually going to be like a actual scary horror movie or creepy. Because when you look at a lot of horror movies, there aren't a lot that are creepy like that. Because a lot of them tend to be like Smile 2 or Night Swim and things like that, where they have to feel like everything has to be scary, not creepy. But
Yeah.
honestly, the creepy ones are a little better, I would say, because they feel more real than the other ones. And that's actually what was pretty surprising for me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's one that
It
I was
is
not
also
expecting.
really creepy that it does sit close to Christian beliefs very well.
Yeah. If you're a Christian, this one will kick you in the balls.
So
Especially the twist at the end, which is I'm assuming what you're referring to as well.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
But the other one, it would be the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Oh, I was hoping
Okay.
this would get mentioned. All right.
So I had a hard time deciding if it was in either the best or just surprising. Because I
Okay.
actually did really enjoy that movie.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun.
Because time frame wise, when the movie takes place, I do like that timeline. Because there also isn't a lot that they can ruin when it comes to more modern type of stuff. Because of the factor of everything trying to be woke or anything like that.
Right.
But the comedy was funny. The action was good. The story was actually just good.
Loosely
what the
based on a
trailer-
true story.
Yeah, for what the story or the trailer showed, it was the same factor. The movie actually did good on it.
Yeah,
Not
you
just-
got what you paid for. It was great.
Yeah.
It was another one of those ones, a lot of neat stuff. Like Ian Fleming is a character in this movie, and he's the guy who wrote James Bond. And this special ops, which is essentially what it was, group that was a real group in World War II, is how he got inspired for James Bond. And so you see little Ian Fleming in this movie with like a notebook toward the beginning of the movie. Remember when they were like getting debriefed by Winston Churchill and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Guy Ritchie rules. He's another one kind of like Robert Eggers for me.
Yeah. This movie, watching this movie, it just reminded me a bunch of Man from U.N.C.L.E. and just
Yes.
makes me want more of Henry Cavill in like almost like spy or special op like kind of movies like that.
Yes, I agree. He's like, if anything, underrated as far as acting ability, and he just fits the style perfectly, like what Guy Ritchie's doing.
He also
Exactly.
cares is the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
Because there are a lot of actors that just show up for a paycheck. The Rock.
Yep. Yep, exactly. Yeah. Henry Cavill rules. That movie it's just fun. I'm not saying it's a masterpiece of cinema. It is really fun.
Yeah. I agree.
Awesome. All right. I think we save best for last, so we'll start in reverse order for disappointments, and we'll have Soupy go.
Disappointing. I had a hard choice between Joker and Venom, but I didn't have as much of a high hope as I did for Joker or Venom, I should say, because Joker had a chance to be better, but then when everybody heard that it was supposed to be a musical, that took it away for me, and well, that's why it became a disappointment, because it shouldn't have ever been. But they also should have just stuck with the first one. So it's just disappointing as a whole movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was debating about this one going in either worse or disappointing. And yeah, I think like
I have a feeling that we all have Joker 2 in our disappointment top 2.
yeah, we do for sure.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we do have a episode on this, but yeah, it's just when you make a movie with the entire intent being to assassinate the first movie, it's a little sad.
Yeah. Just such wasted potential.
Because you also just ruin the whole thing with just one line of just there is no Joker.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. And like the other thing that sucked, they made a good trailer.
Yeah.
You remember that?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trailer does look like watching the trailer, it was like got people hyped.
Yep.
And
the
then
trailer was actually well done.
And that's the thing. There's even parts of the second movie that I don't hate. But
yeah,
then
I really like Brendan Gleeson.
Mm-hmm. And like honestly, even what is it? Lady Gaga is
sure. Yeah, you could argue she probably should have been in it more.
Yeah,
but at that point, it should have just been a Harley Quinn movie.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, that would have actually been really cool if we got a Joker movie, and then afterwards it's a Harley Quinn, and it's like
with him as a side character.
Yeah, and it's like another person's downfall because of his like kind of exposure from the first movie and his like actions.
Yeah. You know what it kind of reminded me of, and it also happens to be Joaquin Phoenix? Napoleon. Remember how much of that movie was pretty much told from the Josephine perspective and about Josephine?
Yeah, it was a mostly Josephine movie, even though
it was essentially a Josephine movie, yeah.
Yeah,
with Napoleon as
Napoleon is the I totally get that.
But yeah, totally full across the board agree with Soupy on that one.
The second one kind of falls into the same factor of just something shouldn't be made, and that would be Gladiator.
Oh,
boom!
Keaton, do you also have that? As
Gladiator was also my second spot.
All right,
is that a clean sweep?
Yeah, it's a clean sweep.
It's just sad, dude.
I put them both in there knowing full well that we were all going to say that.
One of my, and I'll wait till we get to it, but one of my two honorable mentions is in the disappointment category. So maybe that might be different. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
But yes, Gladiator 2, what can we say that already hasn't? It's the first one is an 11 out of 10. They come back with a 5 out of 10 with a lot of stupid crap as well. Like his armor being mithril at the end somehow when he shouldn't have even been. Like, why are we 1v1ing against a 70-year-old when you have an army behind you?
You have two emperors that somehow
you have gay
emperors that have no explanation of how they got there.
Yep.
You also have his flip-flopping like conflicts.
Yep.
And like it's like at one point he hates Rome, and then like the next little bit he's like, I want to save Rome. And then he's like, Rome's broken.
My favorite tidbit in the whole movie is when they are mocking him after the monkey fight, again, which was retarded, by the way. And everybody makes the monkey noise at the table except the two black guys.
Oh, yeah, true.
Little convenient, Ridley, that you didn't have them do it. Just saying. But yeah, that was so... And I only gave it like a 4.5, 5, because some of the action is pretty good.
Yeah.
A lot of it's retarded.
Thing I hate is him picking up the sand.
Yeah, it's like, why?
You know exactly why he did it. Yeah. It's like, okay, there's there's no father like son aspect that is going to ever fix that unless the movie was good.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, the score not as good as the first one, which is
No.
another big thing in my opinion.
Which
Like,
you want to know, like even they knew that because they used the first movie score as the closing sequence.
yep.
So
Yeah.
yeah. And Ridley Scott said he's interested in a third one. So
No.
I don't know if you guys saw that because people were wondering with most of his movies, he has a director's cut or an extended edition.
Yeah.
And people were wondering if for the physical media release of Gladiator 2, if they were doing something with that. And he was like, nah, I think this cut is what it was, and I'm looking into a third. And I was like, ah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
What, the third one's just going to be this script that the one guy brought of just him going and killing Jesus?
Oh, gosh.
Oh. Honestly, that probably would have been better than the second one.
There's a script that they made of, like, Russell Crowe's character. He was too good to go to hell, but he also killed too many people during his lifetime to go straight to heaven. So the movie it was just going to be Russell Crowe fighting through the 9 hells. Like fighting in purgatory and stuff. Like it was crazy. Like demons and stuff.
What?
That was pitched in 2003. That was an actual idea for the movie.
I mean, listen, I'm down for that to be like a separate movie. Like that could be kind of cool just in its own thing. But
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So wild stuff there. Yeah, or him going back in time to fight Jesus. That would be crazy as well. But yeah. So, did any of you guys have honorable mentions in this category?
I do have one honorable mention.
All right.
Am I going?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. My honorable mention in disappointing was Trap.
Ooh, that's actually a good call.
Yeah.
From the trailers of this movie, it looked really interesting, and in my opinion, it felt super flat. Like I don't know the main actor's name. I think he did fine.
Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, like he was good, but like the ending, the climax and everything, it just felt so to me. Like it builds up to this moment just for it to then not do very much, really not do anything at all. And even some of the like beginning moments when he was like, because obviously the whole plot, he's trapped inside a venue for a concert. He's a serial killer. The police are there. They know that he's going to be there, so they've trapped everyone in there and are basically trying to catch him. And he like all the ways that he ends up getting out of that whole like moment just feels so convenient, so like just spur of the moment, like, look at that, he barely got out, and you're like, how? Like,
yeah,
that's
also.
All right, go ahead.
Oh, that's a good pick for disappointment because I'd say it's safe to say for the three of us over the years and just generally speaking, we're Shyamalan fans. Like he's got a lot of really good stuff. We liked Knock at the Cabin. His older stuff is obviously awesome, like Sixth Sense and such, and Glass and the Split movie. Like he can do it.
Yeah.
And the first half an hour of this movie was pretty good. It felt like Shyamalan. And then there was no twist at all. And then it just became super. You can do that without it sucking.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it sucked.
Yeah, it did. The ending of this movie just completely it took any like good part of the movies and just kind of dropped it lower, in my opinion. And so that's the main reason I have it in this category. So
yeah, that's fair.
So, all right. Yeah, no, I agree. That's good.
You have one in
I have one honorable mention, and it was I almost swapped this for Gladiator, but Gladiator ended up being such a clear pick for the main spot. And that was Alien Romulus.
Okay.
Main reason being is like you have a director with a pretty good track record. The trailer kind of was reminiscent of the first one in that it was leaning more into the horror side and less into the action side, like some of the Alien movies are. And I was like, okay, what I wasn't expecting when we went and saw it was for it to be not only just like member berries is one thing, but these characters have never had any interaction with anybody because this is in between 1 and 2. They don't know anybody from the other movies. They're literally teenagers who are trying to get off their planet and get money for something, so they're going to go salvage stuff. They lift dialogue, actual lines of dialogue from the original Alien, like as a use of a member berry. It was so cheap, it pulls you right out of the movie. They AI one of the characters who, because the actor passed away, it's the guy who plays Bilbo in the original Lord of the Rings. He's in Alien, and they AI him onto a robot because he is a robot. His character is
Yes.
But they AI his dialogue in his face. It looks terrible. It sounds not very good, and they like it's not just for a cameo. It ends up becoming a significant part of the movie. So it's like all of that was super cheap. It was super dumb. Also, there gets to a point as far as character incompetence where it's just like, okay, how did nobody figure this out? How did like there's no way you messed that up that bad. And yeah, it was
You say that, yet I might know a couple people that do fit that category.
yeah. It's hard to imagine, but it's also easy to imagine in this. Yeah. So yeah, that was everything going into it seemed like it would be something, and it ended up being exactly what I should have thought it was in the first place. So interquel, and also an interquel similar to like what Soupy was saying earlier, which shouldn't have been made. Why? A freaking interquel. But yeah, so that's my honorable mention, Alien Romulus.
Yeah, I think that's super fair.
All right. The best part of everything. Who wants to start for this?
I think you should start. We'll
All
just
right. And then we'll go.
Yep.
So I want to lead this in. So instead of going 1, 2, and honorable, I'm going to go honorable 2, 1.
Yep.
Okay. So favorite movies of the year, I have 3 because I have an honorable mention. Honorable mention. Horizon Part 1.
Sure.
I have watched a bunch of movie reviewers online that I like and follow do their top 10s and talk about year in review. Nobody talks about this movie. I don't know why. It's before my number 2 spot. It was my number 2. It's long. It's 3 hours. It is beautiful. It is a gorgeous movie. It is more well written than it gets credit for. One of the main things I hear people like, some of the things people use as a critique are the things I actually like. People have been saying it jumps around and there's a lot of different plot lines and perspectives. Granted, it's supposed to be 4 movies. That's why there's so many perspectives. And number 2, I think there's 5 or 6 perspectives because it's like the Native Americans, Kevin Costner's character, the wagon train, the people who were stranded in the town and the military. Mm-hmm. Those are like the main. All of them are well written and compelling. Like I wasn't sitting there getting lost. I wasn't getting bored. Probably the most underrated score. If you do yourself a favor, if you haven't yet, go to Spotify. It's John Debney. It's the guy who made the Passion of the Christ soundtrack, or the composer. It is awesome. I still listen to it. The Horizon score is great. And yeah, it's super well acted. It's beautiful. It was shot on digital. It probably could have benefited from being shot on film. But anyways, it was good either way. Yeah, I loved it. Easy, like 8.5 out of 10 for me.
I do like how you mentioned the factor that it jumps around.
Yeah.
Yet you go watch how many TV shows, and if you were to piece 3 episodes together, which is at that point the length of a movie in most cases, how many times does it jump around then? And people still enjoy it. It's like you can't do that. That's I mean, I guess you can because it is a movie, and movies
Yeah.
are technically
You
different
could
than
have
TV
pacing
shows.
issues. Yeah.
But still, I think it
And-
also probably would have helped if the second one came out.
Yes,
that
I
same year.
agree. I think if part 2 actually released in the same year, like it was planned to, I think people would look upon it more favorably. I really hope it comes out 2025. If so, because there's a lot of anticipated movies this year. If Horizon 2 gets a release this year, that is going to jump really high for me. Probably not as high as like stuff like 28 Years Later and Superman, but it'll be up there for sure. Because I loved it. I don't know about you guys. Horizon rules.
I really liked it. I think
I own it on physical media already. So
I actually liked the fact that it jumped around a lot because it gives you a perspective. It gives you multiple perspectives. Um, for a bunch of people that you can kind of expect are gonna kind of tie together at a later point, right? At least somewhat. And I think it had like a little bit of every like things for everybody. Like there's kind of some like depressing moments, there's some like uplifting moments because you have so many different like people that are going through different things.
yep.
So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm really excited for the second one.
All right. My number 2 spot. So now in my actual top 2 favorite.
Mhm.
Nosferatu. I didn't think it was going to be this high until I saw it. I've now seen it twice. Yeah, we literally reviewed it earlier. It's awesome. It's Robert Eggers. It's proper gothic horror. Really, really good. So it jumped up quite high. And then number 1, I don't know if this will be a duplicate. I guess we'll see between us. Dune Part 2.
You and I have the exact same. I think we just have pretty much the exact same list, Keaton.
Was that your 3 as well?
Well, so Nosferatu and Dune Part 2 are both in the best. I don't know which ones
Yeah.
I think I'd probably put Dune 2 over
I have a different
Nosferatu.
honorable mention, but that's it.
Yeah, I
you
have a
the
different
same
honorable
too,
mention too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here's what I will say. In all fairness, we have Dune 2 and Nosferatu both in Fantastic, and that's 50% of the movies that we have in the Fantastic tier list. So it kind of makes sense that we'd all say those.
I want to make something pretty clear here as far as bringing art back into movies and making something with heart that is like sincere, and they're not trying to do cheap stuff like Alien, and is really showing in all of our lists here. Because, and here's my main point, we all have Nosferatu, okay, a gothic horror of all things, and then we have Dune Part 2, which isn't a surprise. That movie was awesome. I loved it. Deadpool and Wolverine. We did most surprising with honorable mentions and best, and it wasn't in any of ours. Why? Well, it wasn't the worst movie in the world. It was primarily a comedy, but it does a lot of like, it's memba berries, it's sillies, the story is actually pretty bad if you think about it. So making something with sincerity goes a long way. It really does.
Yeah.
And it is sad because, I mean, Ryan Reynolds did try to actually make Deadpool as good as he possibly could, but obviously there's only so much he can do himself when Marvel is still riding his butt on it.
Right.
So it's like, for what he was given, it is still a good movie, but I can't place it higher or anywhere else.
It's funny. It might be, as far as like legit intentional, because like Madam Web is an unintentional comedy. Deadpool and Wolverine is like an actual comedy, and it's up there pretty good. And it does get a lot of points for me in that regard. All right, you guys have the same best list. Any other honorable mentions for favorite movie of the year?
I have one honorable mention.
All righty.
I do as well, yeah.
And it's Bike Rider.
Okay, well, I don't have an honorable mention anymore. But
oh my gosh, really?
There's no way you had the same one, sir.
I literally have it's Nosferatu, Dune 2, Bike Riders, and then worst Argyle, Madam Web, disappointing Joker 2, Gladiator Trap, surprising, and then I think surprising is the only one.
It was the only one we had different.
Yeah,
I think we all had different for all of those, right? No, me and Soupy had long legs.
We had long legs, but that was it.
yeah.
Brian, wait, hold on. So you put Nosferatu above Dune, Brian?
I would put Dune 2 over Nosferatu. I think.
Okay.
I just was putting.
I would say the same.
Yeah, I didn't put it in like a specific order in my list. I just was putting the movies in the list, and then the third options were my honorable mentions. So,
all right. So yeah, Bike Riders, great pick for that. Another movie that a lot of people have been crapping on. I really liked it. It was really good.
yeah, I liked it.
I didn't have much of an interest when it came to the trailer.
Yeah. This one could have been a good runner-up for surprising for me.
That's fair.
But the movie was just good.
Yeah. Everyone played really, like Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really
And I do love the aspect of it being told from somebody else's aspect, not the main person's.
Yeah,
the perspective.
Yeah, Jodie Comer, it's very reminiscent of Goodfellas in that it's like the narration is someone trying to find out the story from someone who is connected. So, yeah. I quite liked it. The music in it is also really good. Fits the era really well. And motorcycles are cool, obviously. So, yeah, that's an awesome honorable mention.
I think not necessarily honorable mention for best, but just since we're already talking about him, I also think Reagan is another movie that would be honorably mentioned for just a great movie from this year.
Yeah, I agree.
That I could agree with.
It moved pretty quick, but that was also another one where it was pretty interesting. It was told from the perspective of a Russian, like a Soviet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was in a normal world. Dennis Quaid might get nominated, but they hate Reagan, so
Yep.
Yeah.
not gonna happen. All right, so yeah, that is our 8 plus 1 in the chamber list for 2024. I thought that was a good format. Did you guys think that was a good format?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was fun.
I do still feel like shows can be included with it a little bit, but
which I want to get to right now. While we're looking at this list, okay? And it'll be on screen on the YouTube side. I think now would be a good time to talk about this list, but also particularly TV. I think it's safe to say TV had a pretty good year, probably better than movies. I will note Gentleman and Penguin are both in the top tier of this entire year. So, Soupy, you watched Penguin, yeah?
I did watch Penguin.
Yeah. I was not prepared for how good it was going to be.
I didn't know what they were going to do for the story.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of the thing. And then the way they actually did play out the story was fantastic.
Yeah, it was. Colin Farrell disappears into the role, and the ending was so good. That might be one of the best season finales ever. And
yeah,
now there's no Batman probably ever. So that's fun.
Which is kind of sad.
Yeah, I mean, it is James Gunn. He's going to do what he has to do to make sure it's all his. But anyways, yeah. But yeah, this year we had Shogun. We had this House of Dragon season 2. I have both of those in the second tier. Ted season 1, which we all watched, and that was so fun. Wait, that was another one that I didn't know what they were going to do, and it ended up being pretty good.
Yeah, that's probably one of my favorite comedy shows from this year.
Yeah,
not that there really was a ton that came out, but
I feel like with Family Guy, since it's been going on for so long, Ted was like a new, fun little idea for him, and I think it helped make it actually better because he finally got to change something up for once. But it was also similar
live
to
action
stuff he has made.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a season 2.
Mhm.
I've read some places that there's not like a definitive time like release, but I think it is this year. Which, if it is, that's awesome. So,
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I've heard that
so,
somewhere.
but yeah, Invincible, Arcane, and all of these are ranked so high. So, what a great year! And then, yeah, Boys. Oh gosh.
Yeah, The Boys.
You
still
say
love
great
it.
year, and then that shows up.
Yep. Yeah. And you'll notice there are shows we didn't even bother with, like Rings of Power and Acolyte and stuff like that, because it's like I'm not even gonna try. I'm not even gonna do it.
You also forgot the War of Rohirrim.
Yeah, we didn't see that. Did you see that, Subi?
No.
Yeah. And this year, like 2025, might shape up to be pretty decent for TV as well. We got Daredevil. We have 1923 season 2. A couple of others, so that's gonna be big. We have there's another one coming out in August. It might be like Clarkson's Farm season 4 or something. But yeah, it's shaping up to be a pretty decent year. We're getting another Game of Thrones show called Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So
There's also one show we didn't add to the list, and it was Sweet Pea.
oh yeah.
That did come out this year. I actually did enjoy Sweet Pea.
That was good. It's probably, if like gun to my head, I'd say TV was better than movies this year.
Yeah.
We'll see if that changes. It also just kind of goes to show the direction. Like, the more high budget shows we get, it's possible. I didn't watch Fallout. I heard mixed stuff. But yeah, we're going to keep seeing that. It's going to be a continuing trend. While we're looking at the list, streaming stuff that we have on here. Do you guys remember Self-Reliance?
Yeah.
I didn't realize how high we had this ranked. That was pretty fun. And it wasn't, I didn't even know what to expect, but it was actually really fun.
Yeah, it was a fun one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what it was kind of similar to.
Yeah, I
If
was
really anything.
borderline Truman Show.
I could kind of see that. Yeah.
Yeah. The I didn't love the twist, but then it ended up twisting back, so it ended okay.
Yeah.
But the first watch through, I didn't really like the twist where Anna Kendrick thought it was all just like a fun, silly meme and not real, but she was pretending it was, but it actually was. And so the twist at the end is that like he is able to actually prove it. Thank goodness. I was really worried they were going to end the movie with him just being completely screwed and her never talking to him again. But
yeah, it was a fun little.
Andy Samberg's in it.
Playing Andy Samberg too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, he's just himself.
It's just
I
himself.
kind of wish I did watch that one, but I haven't.
Did you?
No, I think it was
I
just you
haven't.
and I.
I thought you were there for that.
Mm-mm.
You should watch it, Soupy. It's good. It's on Hulu, so
Yeah, we can
pretty
watch it sometime. Another one that was streaming was Ricky Stenicki.
Ricky Stenicki. Oh gosh, I actually really like Andrew Santino.
Yeah, Andrew Santino's really funny in this one.
Even in a movie with a bunch of like career actors, he's like the one who's not a career actor, but he was one of the best.
Yeah.
So that was pretty. Yeah, it was okay. There were like a good amount of spots that I laughed. Some of it was just whack and weird.
Yeah, it is. I will say though, it's nice to just have a comedy movie that doesn't just have two black women making really dumb and sexist jokes.
Right.
So, like, in a world where we can't have James Franco comedies, I'll take something like Ricky Stenicki still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, he's got to come back.
Yep. And it's sad that I kind of enjoyed some of the older movies that we watched this year, like Django. Unchained.
Django.
That was one of the greatest movies in existence.
I forgot this year was the first time you'd seen Django.
It was such a great movie.
Yeah.
Dude, Django's just one of those like perfect movies.
This year was the first year that you guys watched the one about the room, Disaster Artist.
Yeah, Disaster Artist. It was also the first time I had watched No Country for Old Men.
That's right. Yeah, and
True.
Sicario.
Yeah, and Sicario.
Both of those.
I watched There Will Be Blood this year. That was freaking awesome. There is, let's see. So in the good soup, I put Land of Saints and Sinners. That was one of the best Liam Neeson movies in a long time, purely because it took place in Ireland, so he didn't have to attempt and fail at an American accent like he does in most of his movies. So, yeah, it was a really grounded Irish crime story. I got to give it a rewatch. It was pretty good. We didn't even bring up one of the most talked about movies of the year yet, which is called The Substance. I think out of us three, I was the only one that saw that. Did you ever see that,
you're
Suki?
the only one.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
It's so cursed. It's so freaking wild. And I know some people defend the final sequence. I think the final sequence is overrated. People are like defending it to see it is. I don't think it was the best possible choice as far as what they ended up doing. I think it was just wild for the sake of wild, kind of like you ever heard the term like shock value or shock factor? I think that's what they were going for, but I don't know if that was the best idea to just go straight for shock value at the end. But yeah, probably some of the best acting of the entire year was this movie. When they get to the Oscars and do Best Actress, it's either going to Margaret Qualley or Demi Moore for that movie. Like, I bet they'll be the two, like, up in the air for it, I think. But, yeah. Yeah, Substance is wild. It is probably the most disturbing thing I've ever watched in my life. It's crazy. So, yeah. I like how we didn't even talk about Furiosa.
Yeah, it kind of was, in my opinion, it's good. A little forgettable, though.
Yeah, not only that, like, it's too damn slow. Like,
Yeah.
I see people give this really high ratings, and it's like, okay, you know what? Considering I've seen all the other Mad Max movies, you're putting this movie in the same world, but you're slowing it down this much just doesn't fit, and it didn't work, I think.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
I also feel like it might have needed a little bit more action.
Exactly.
I
That's
felt
what,
like the
that's what
action
I mean.
scenes they also gave were kind of short sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It looked good. Like, it was really well shot, and the costumes were neat, and Hemsworth was fun. But yeah.
Overall, just kind of felt a little bit weaker, especially when you can. Yeah, especially when you consider it to Mad Max, in my opinion, where Mad Max is like just fun action, like almost constantly. Like with there's like little breaks here and there where it calms down, but like, yeah, I get what you mean. It definitely was slow. The action at times like felt very short, and then it went to a long like exposition moment or just lack of plot going forward.
We'll probably have this many, if not more, this year, because this year is there's like the schedule is a lot more packed than it was last year.
I already know
So-
one that's going to be on the garbage tier, and it's just Minecraft.
Yeah, I have some predictions. I think Captain America 4 without Captain America will probably be in either not good or garbage. We are going to give it a chance, but
We'll have to.
I don't know about that.
Maybe we'll have to do a
Super, you have to see
episode where
it.
we do some.
Yeah,
we have to go
opening
see
night, Suki.
I will watch it. I will.
it. Especially because you don't have to pay a dime for the tickets, sir.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, it's so who knows? Yeah, I agree. I think Minecraft is going to be something to
I mean, I'm
behold.
watching Wolfman tomorrow. So.
Nice.
We should do like an episode where we kind of maybe talk about some of the movies coming up this
Yeah,
year.
I agree. That'll probably be our next one.
Kind of rank them stuff. I think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, because it's quite the schedule, and there's a lot of stuff coming out that you haven't seen talked about, and that I haven't seen people talk about. Like, there's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie coming out with DiCaprio and Benicio del Toro. I haven't seen anyone talk about that. That comes out this year.
Yeah.
There's a bunch. So, but yeah, 2024. I would say the overarching thing is it was meh with a couple gems.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's what I would say. When back
Generally
in the day,
about the good soup.
yeah, yep. average wasn't here. Not, I wouldn't say there was as many gems as 23, and I think the gems that were in 2022 were just a little better, but these Nosferatu and Dune are still pretty good gems, I'd say. But if I looking back last year, we had The Covenant and Oppenheimer, and then you had in 2022 you had Top Gun Maverick and the Batman and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean the gems were gems and a lot of meh. Or the other way I describe 2024, great for television. Huge
Yes.
TV year.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Because the other thing is like Arcane, it won a butt ton of animation.
Oh, did it really?
awards. Yes. Because it is a different style
Right.
of animation compared to how a lot of those shows tend to be. But it was also kind of weird because, like, the first season, there was a huge gap between the first season and the second season.
It was like 3 years or something like that, I think.
Yeah,
But the
2021, I
first
believe.
season took like 6 years to make.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I don't think it was as big as season 2 was. And I don't know how or why it did it, but looking at like season 1, I don't think it was as big as the second season was. Nowhere near as big.
Oh, in popularity?
Yeah. Because then the second season came out and it, for some reason, became one of the most popular things.
Yeah.
Well,
the
it's,
TV
it's
show.
because you have 3 years of. Because here's the thing: you have so many people that have never touched League of Legends ever before, now getting suggested a show about it, and so they get interested and they get like invested in it. So when the second season rolls around, you have all these people that have already seen the first season now. Because like, I mean, for crying
That
out loud,
does
you and I
happen
are.
with shows, though, sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not big when it comes out because it needs time to pick up, like, buzz and pick up conversation. And
Yeah.
then in that time gap, so like 2022 and 2023, people were, slowly getting recommended the first Arcane season so that all of them, the original fans, plus all the new fans from the 2 years after, all were there for season 2.
Yeah.
So it kind of works with that with some shows, some other shows as well. I think that's probably how that ended up happening.
Probably.
Except
that's what
the
happened with
reverse-
us. Maybe.
Sometimes the reverse happens. Like nobody
True.
gives a crap about Squid Game, but it was a full-on phenomena the first season.
Yeah, my coworker keeps trying to get me to watch it, and I haven't.
Yeah. The first season was like a cultural phenomena. I think it's because of COVID, but the
a
second
lot
season,
of it was
nobody
COVID.
cares about the second season.
I also think it's partially because of I think a lot of people don't want to deal with Netflix anymore. And B, I also think the second season, at least for kind of what I've seen, doesn't seem as strong as the first. Like, it's interesting initially because you're like, whoa, this is a different concept. But then when the second season is just kind of like a repeat of the first season with like a little more, like with a couple more plot points like splattered.
Yeah,
in
there's
there.
some different stuff that happens here and there, but
Yeah,
Netflix
but overall
hasn't
it's
had
kind
a
of
good
similar.
track record. I mean, they botched the crap out of Stranger Things.
yeah. Oh, frick. Yeah, that's this year too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the finals. Honestly, if you were to like poll people, like do a survey, I bet there's a big portion of this country, as far as anticipation, if you were to combine TV and movies, that would put Stranger Things at number 1, above Superman, above everything, above
for sure.
Fantastic Four. We have a Fantastic Four movie coming out. That would put above all of it. Stranger Things is such a freaking wildly pop, like that might take over when it comes out.
Yeah, it will.
So until you brought that
My
up, I
guess is
totally.
it's going to be the final season.
It is.
It is.
No, it is.
Definitely
It is contractually the final.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, they did get sued, so
Right. Who'd they get?
For
Was
this
it D&D?
reason. Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Well,
or a 3-headed dragon that they put on the poster.
oh, it was the poster?
It was the poster because it shows a
Oh.
3-headed dragon, and in D&D like lore and things like that. Original, I don't know what edition it was, but it's one of the older editions. The dragon, it's like a main dragon to the story, is a 3-headed dragon, and so that's why they put it on the poster. But then,
Are you sure it was Stranger Things that made the poster, or was it like a fan? Because I've seen like fan edits, I think, of that poster, but
if I remember right, it was Stranger Things, and then they had to change it.
Yeah, it was, because remember, they're like on the hill. The whole city gets taken over at the end of the 4th season, and the poster for the new season was them like standing on the hill, and the whole city's like covered in smoke, and then there's the dragon.
And if I
Oh,
remember
yeah.
right, they got sued by whoever created Godzilla because they're like, "Oh, it's Ghidorah, it's the 3-headed dragon," and it's like it's not. There are many 3-headed dragons
Yeah, I
in
was gonna say, that
existence.
seems
It's
like a
if you were
common
to
theme.
create Cerberus in a Greek freaking movie. Is
Yep.
somebody gonna go sue you for another 3-headed dog? No.
No, yeah. Otherwise, Harry Potter would be screwed.
Yes.
So, but yeah, well, I think we'll wrap it up there. But that's 2024. The tier list will be posted up, obviously. So, yeah. Until next time.